Here, and today we're going to be answering how you can travel, drink and eat, and earn a food, travel, and beverage writer based out of Delhi, New India. So any kind of questions that you would like to ask us, you can just foot us. But what we're going to start off with is how I kind of like started off with my journey and what all am I kind of like been doing over the past 3 years. So when I kind of like started off with my journey, it was actually supposedly about a lot about how to do food reviews and food invites. So what a food review actually is that you go to a restaurant, you eat the food, and you kind of like write good things, something like that on a website, so that you've got an from evolved it into a travel blog because my girlfriend is a travel photographer, so that's how we kind of like do it and kind of like form different things. And because we got our wine certifications in our first year, so we've kind of like also started doing beverage blogging in the past 3 months or so. So this forum, this videos will be differently, and you can actually ask me any question on how you can be a food, travel, or beverage blogger, and how you can kind of like learn from it. So let's start with the first question: how to kind of like have a blog that kind of gives you all the parts that you can work along with. So the first thing that you need is to have a self-hosted blog. Self-hosted blog kind of like gets more hits. It's got a lot of authority instead of being WordPress or a blogger hosted blog. And this is something that you should really start out when you're kind of like doing it early. So that's what we did. We just started it out very early and kind of like created the whole process where the blog kind of like started earning for itself. Ways that you can earn in a food, travel, or a lifestyle blog, and it can kind of like range from working with brands on their products, writing about them, and even kind of like doing sponsored posts with them, and even reaching up to affiliate marketing. So whatever questions you ask me, I can kind of like answer them as they come up. So let's kind of like, I'll just first show you the blog created over the past 3 years, and then we can kind of like take these sessions from there. Sounds great. So let me just open up my laptop, and then I can show you what all stuff that we have on our blog. So the prime thing that you need is, one of the most first things that you need is to create content on your blog. The first thing that you have to see is what kind of like very scratchy, so those are the problems that it's creating. But I'll just show you around how our blog kind of like looks like, then you can take it over kinds from there. As you can see, this is what our blog kind of like looks like. I'll just polish this piece up a bit more. Basically starts off with a map, and this actually just shows what all places that we've been to. It's been divided into three major sections that it's got. So it's got the whole of travel right here, as you can see. It's got hotels, which are obviously an integral part of how you're doing your sponsored posts and stuff like that. You've got food here, and you've got alcohol diaries, which basically is the beverage stories part. So we're also dividing into that, so I'll kind of like let you know how it works out. So as you can see, once you kind of like scroll down, the first section is obviously travel, and it's got its share of articles. The next is food stories from the blog, and that also gives us some to talk about from the food world. And the final thing actually is beverage stories from the blog. So these are the three sections that we have on our blog, and this is how we kind of like earn. What we earn is somewhere in the range of $2,000 a month, and converted that into Indian rupees, that's a pretty high amount that works very well for us. And is we do a lot of things, so it's quite easy in certain ways, and it's quite difficult in certain ways too. So let's kind of like skip over to the blog and show you the amount of content that we've written for the last 3 years, so you can get an idea and put up your questions right after that. And we'd definitely like to take you across how we are kind of like working on. So as soon as you kind of like click on a blog, this is the WordPress themes that kind of like go into it. WordPress helps us build our blog every day, and this is how it's kind of like built up. As you can see, there are more than 1400 articles that we've kind of like put up there since the blog kind of like has started out. So it has been a big huge journey. We've written lots of restaurant reviews, and that makes this blog really big in Delhi and allows us to actually do what we do. So on top of that, what I'll try and show you is how many restaurant reviews we've written, and then we can tell you how to kind of like do it yourself and get yourself those restaurant reviews and head over to a very good restaurant for a meal that you wouldn't have been able to do so without it. A lot of people are going to make a lot of noise about how blogging shouldn't be free and how blogging isn't free and it's a job, but at the end of the day everybody enjoys having a meal at the expense of others, and if it's in a 5-star hotel, that's something that you'd really like to do. So if you can see, this is how many reviews that we've kind of like written on our website. That's nearly 700 articles that we have on different restaurants around Delhi. We basically tend to work such that we're going to be doing 2 to 4 events a week and then write about it. So one of the first ways that we got into so I'm going to be talking about the earning part of it, but I can come back to content whenever you kind of like have. So the first way we kind of like got into content was actually. So one of the first ways that we kind of like got into the restaurants after we'd done quite a bit of content was that we actually pitched. Pitching is very easy. It's can be done on Facebook itself, or even Twitter and Instagram work. So after you've established yourself as a blogger for a certain amount of time, so most of the places around you will be looking for someone to work with. One thing that you have to always know, you just cannot start asking for money from day one. Why? Because in any profession that you go, you cannot have an earning from the day one you step into the educational part of that profession. So if I'm a doctor, what I am, I wasn't earning on the first day of my medical school. I studied for 5.5 years of undergrad, 3 years of postgrad, and then is when I kind of like started earning. So it's the same with blogging. You're learning when you're kind of like going away at the starting point. You're learning day after day after day, and that's what you're supposed to do, and that's how you're supposed to learn the basics of blogging before trying to earn. I'm not saying that it doesn't earn, it does, but you have to stick through a pretty long time and kind of like go ahead with that. So how we started off, one of the biggest tips that I would give to you is don't be afraid of pitching. There are a lot of news in social media all the time that goes along that people talk about how pitching is like for beggars and how bloggers have become beggars, where they kind of like ask people that we're gonna stay for free or eat for free at your place against a few reviews or stuff like that. See, all the things said and done, it was also being done by your print media. I did not see any restaurant having a problem when a print media person was being coming in and writing about it. So why is the problem when it is kind of like with a blogger? So do not be afraid to pitch anywhere, any place. But one thing you have to realize, as you kind of like go ahead and ahead and ahead, better and better things are gonna come your way. So that is our tip number one that I'd like to know. So guys, do let us know any other questions that you have in the comments below. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel, and do let us know what you think about our new videos and how we can help you become good bloggers and earn while traveling, eating and drinking for free. Great. And do follow our social media channels also.